Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm here to continue my read along for the Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound. I'm still on Chapter 3, Episode 495. When Roger hears that a new giant of a man is on the grounds, his pistol is fully loaded. Can Barnabas make the proper introductions, or will Roger shoot on sight? Adam Robert Rodin. Adam speaks his first word, Barnabas. After a rousing soap-eating seminar, Adam becomes distraught when Barnabas leaves. So he escapes. He and David play, but when they rumble over David's new knife, Roger shoots Adam and probably goes home and laughs about it. Adam is wounded, but not down. Everyone comes to Dark Shadows for the vampire. Everyone then finds their own reasons to stay. Episodes like 495 are replete with mine. And if you watch it without tearing up, we could turn this daybook right around right now and go home. I have plenty of Girls Next Door episodes I can write about. Thank you. Agreed. Isolation, misunderstandings, alienation, and all of the other pillars of my self-esteem grabbed the baton and shared duties as Grand Marshal of the parade here. In fact, 495 might be the most emotionally arresting installment on the show's 5-year run. Other episodes have more arresting moments, but I can think of few others that establish and sustain each poignance. Robert Rodin's sensitive and liberated performance is key, and it's no wonder that children rushing home from school now had a character with whom they could identify, and a character capable of unlocking the parental side of Barnabas. They always knew was there. Not that Rodin was an ideal child, and not that Barnabas was an ideal parent, as the great man admits in the soap scene, and it has a soap scene. Even the hippiest cities can't boast of a thriving soap scene. But here you go. The fact that they fall short makes it all the more touching because the intention is there. Adam may be a wayward student of a spoon, but the pain we see when he attempts to make Barnabas stay is authentic and affectionate. Jonathan Fritz similarly finds lovely and ambiguous texture in that scene, playing off Rodin for dynamics we'd rarely see again. Barnabas shows a mournful pride. He hears his name as Adam's first word, and then chides himself for having unrealistic expectations based on that. Just as pointed out is the pain and desperation Adam freely shows when Barnabas leaves. For many young viewers, the TV was their primary companion when adults left. If they were ever really there, the truth of the moment shared by Sam Hall and Robert Rodin cuts through plot, character, atmosphere, and everything else to speak directly to viewers, confronting as well confronting as well as comforting. It's a biting reminder of the job Dark Shadows was fulfilling. Hall then does something uncommon for Dark Shadows. He doubles down on it all with the other mismatched father-son pair, Roger and David. David is trying to show off a new knife, and Roger is pulling a muscle to feign interest. Feign interest. It's clear they're both trying, and they both know it's probably pointless, but what alternative have they? David later confides to Adam that he wishes that speaking was unnecessary, since it's usually a vehicle for prying information more than connecting. Is anyone connecting in the episode? Roger even asked Barnabas to try a little harder to get along with Cassandra. As if his cousin were the petulant son of a newly married dad. David and Adam are the closest to each other, and even they suffer potentially fatal misunderstandings. In classic Frankenstein tradition, Adam's heartfelt attempts to assist are misinterpreted in a way with which only well-meaning children and recovering ones can relate. One person at least tries. Barnabas when Roger and Barnabas face down Adam with David. The two seats of fathers and sons are matched up perfectly. We see the future play out in the present. We get how Roger got to be Roger. And Barnabas, Roger got to be Roger. And what David will become. Barnabas, a mild-mannered outsider, now uses a rational speech with Adam. Roger, a gun, which he fires at Adam anyway, even after Barnabas's technique works. The episode ends with a hint of Damas, as do so many others usually involving Burke Devlin. Adam ends as prone, afraid and powerless as he begins. He rubs his gunshot shoulder given his connection to Barnabas. Will they share the same pain, a la the Corsican brothers? Neither Cheech nor Chong weighed in. This episode hit the airwaves May 17th, 1968. Robert Rodin needs a thank you. Thank you, Robert Rodin, by the way. Yes, he does. I agree. Great character and great actor. Really great job he did. It was I'll add more to this when I'm done here. It was a thankless part. The next big thing after Barnabas' grand expectations that could never be fulfilled because of the intrinsic differences. But if you have done Dracula, then you have to do Frankenstein. And someone is going to have to play the creature. I'm not sure if Frankenstein is scary or sexy, so much as sad. And sad only goes so far without other continuing factors to propel it. My hopes is that fans look beyond that and beyond the fact that this lonely and desperate character was the focus of a storyline that began with great momentum. But as with most Frankenstein stories, went nowhere. Then again, unless you are a keen student of literature, it can be hard to remember how most Frankenstein stories end. Something about torches and pitchforks. In that sense, the non-ending is as true to the legends as everything else on the show. On Dark Shadows, the journey is what matters far more than the destination. And in lauding his contribution to the show, this is essential to remember. With his death, we all have an opportunity to stop and remember that contribution. With fresh eyes, it's ultimately inappropriate to compare Barnabas with Dracula. Yes, both are smooth and aristocratic vampires, but that's where the similarity stops. We have a much closer analog with Robert Rodin and Frankenstein's monster. It's a strange mix of both representing these literary inspirations and moving beyond them. Few of the show's riffs, though, come as close to the source material as did Adam, so it's safe to take a moment of license and admit that no other actor was ever given the chance to explore the world of Frankenstein's creation as Robert Rodin. It was a gift he did not squander. The irony is that a part so broad could be charted with such sensitivity and intric- intricacy. The thing that fascinates me about the creature is that he is, in every sense, us. Few of us feel entirely as in common and acknowledgeable of our abilities and circumstances as we like to appear. We are always learning. We're always making mistakes. We're always making dangerous things out of little knowledge. Often before make often before it's even out of the box, Robert Rodin captured the full breadth of that exploration with definiteness and commitment. And in one part he played a variety of them, from Patman to smug, intel, intel, intellectualized chess mastery. Rodin showed brave command of each phase, and of the many gray areas of his evolution between them, as anything based on Frankenstein would necessitate. It's a philosophical evolution. Humans grow until they die, assembled from the dead and lost parts of life experiences that are constantly forced into new service, or so, yeah, constant. Just like Adam, with his awkward limbs drafted into new battles, few of us are graceful at that, less so than any of us will admit. In his attempts to grow up as quickly as he can, Adam is equally endearing and embarrassing. Rodin embodied that with the right kind of selflessness. At a certain point, you can't worry about shame. Most compelling characters are beyond it, and most soap villains start out at dizzying heights of power that are then toppled by love. Adam started out as an endearing, oversized infant and was manipulated into abusing that heightened power as it developed. It is a painful reflection gifted to us with joy by this multifaceted actor. In a show where monsters are used to explore the learning curve of becoming us, few did so with the forgivable kindness and heart of Robert Rodin. He was our sad friend and most disturbingly accurate reflection. So much of that was in the writing, but so much of it was in him. Coming up, my favorite goofy line of the series, on par with Ingrid Bergman's breathless intonation of liverwurst in Spellbound. Episode 497. While the gift of swanky earrings lead to new friendships or a lifetime supply of whipped carrots. Joe Haskell is about to find out. Joel Carruthers. Julia warns Miss Johnson not to tell David her dream, but she does anyway. And indeed, he has the dream. Willie is his beckoner and Spiders his fear. Meanwhile, Joe informs Maggie that her new earrings are worth $15,000. Or sorry, $1,500. 100. No, 15,000. Okay, my bad. When he suggests that there will be strings attached, she accuses him of being infantile. Later, Willie pressures her to become his friend when the earrings trigger her sense of vague memory about the old house, leading her to visit. So Maggie thinks that Joe needs a restaurant that serves baby food. Equally redoubtable and reliable, Catherine Lee Scott sells the suggestion with a trooper's lack of self-consciousness. It's both a fabulous bit of shade and a conspicuously poorly written line for Dark Shadows. It's so awkward that I wish they had written more dialogue like it. It is equal parts completely unbelievable and totally realistic. It is an alloy. It's an allow myself to introduce myself moment. Almost Maggie is clearly ticked off and clearly needs to put Joe in his place. I think she assumes that this is the best way to do it. Either that, or she thought it was going to sound a lot better than it did when it came out of her mouth. Either way, the camera fixes on Joe's expression, which is more baffled than insulted. As well, it should be. Maggie is the one sashaying around with $15,000 earrings. And Joe is either envious of the person who gave them to her or is envious of the earrings. One or the other. Probably both. The return of Josette is a strange bit of regression for the show. If I were Barnabas, I would demand a refund from Julia. How many times does he have to take her into the shop and get brainwashed? Between Adam and the fact that Barnabas is no longer a vampire and a dream curse that is more of an opportunity to tour the neurosis of the characters than it is to be scared, the program has run so far from gothic romance that a gentle reminder of the show's identity doesn't hurt. It's both a good post-it of where we have been and of how far we have come. There are contingents of Dark Shadows fans who dislike this storyline, as if it took their lunch money and got them to write pen 15 on their arm. It wears out its welcome now and then, but it's also a prime example of the surprising versatility of the show's format. In terms of equal opportunity terror, the Dream Curse continues to impact everyone who has ever been on this show as it makes its march toward Barnabas. Thank God it got to Mrs. Johnson, who among us has not wondered about her nightmares. Allegedly, a woman who does not dream. Why would she? She lives with the all too real fantasy of being Harry Johnson's mother. Her eagerness to tell David is part of the curse. Yes, we get that. And the show certainly is not ageist nor overprotective when it comes to excluding David from the accursed festivities. He gets dragged in with everyone else. If I were a recent viewer of the show, it would be easy to conclude that David was the poster boy for child psychological abuse, because he takes a lot of it. Longtime viewers know that he is a tougher than he looks. However, in an odd way, including him in the proceedings is a sign of respectful acknowledgement that kids are more than spoonfuls of jelly, necessitating constant coddling. They can be tortured by giant dream spiders along with everyone else. John Carlin is reliably outstanding in this episode, and the script supports him extremely well. One of his great strengths is showing characters who wrestle with the deeply conflicted impulses and emotions most actors find challenge just accurately depicting one. Carlin can create a blend of inner conflict where each emotion is distinct yet blended. his desire to protect Maggie, romantically assert himself, be a friend, avoid the wrath of Barnabas, and sidestep Joe Haskell is a heady brew. He keeps it going with clarity and energy, and thus creates suspense over what will happen next. That is more asserting than the horror elements in the show. It's the episode's hidden highlight and one of my favorite acting moments in the series. No one's telling him he needs baby food. This episode hit the airwaves May 21st, 1968. When Roger lets slip that Vicky once was tried as a witch in 1795, Nicholas hatches a scheme to rescue Angelique with the help of black magic and hypnosis. Nicholas Humphrey Alan Estrado. Jeff awakens from a dream where Nathan Forbes berates him as Peter Bradford. Upon waking, Jeff realizes that this evidence ensures that he is Peter Bradford. At Collinwood, Nicholas connects Vicky to the painting and induces Roger to explain her convictions about 1795. He realizes that she knows the location of Trask's execution tree and uses her knowledge to locate it. There, Nicholas performs a ritual to summon Angelique. The sound of screaming indicates he may be a success. Dark Shadows is a paranoid's delight and is sure to leave you with reflexes and impulses that will last a lifetime. An eternal gift to make a neurotic out of anyone. Vicky shows amazing fortitude and professionalism here. She is at her job and living there, living at her home and work. Is the witch responsible for her murder? But you know the witch says she isn't and is married to your boss, so you have to play along. Then a sleazy guy with a mustache shows up, kisses hands, and claims to be her brother. Which may be worse. One night you come downstairs for your nightly brandy and bullion and catch him making weird hand gestures at a painting that looks like said witch. Then he asks to borrow it, for reasons that seem uncomfortably Kentuckian. Who borrows a painting of someone who looks like their sister? Nicholas Blair, that's who. This kind of stuff goes on there all the time. People at Collinwood, in the name of lack of evidence, lack of witnesses, or just a desire to be darn nice, end up sleeping 3 doctors down from all manner of apocalyptic ne'er-do-wells, and they just lump it. Can you trust anyone? I'm always wary when life throws me a guest star. The Collinses spend enough hours watching a show about them, and you're in serious danger of taking that home and to work. Word to the wise. 525 is a joyous little core sample of the good stuff on the program. It's Jonathan Frid's day off, and the writers are determined to keep the suspense and ratings high. A wacky dream sequence with Nathan Forbes laughing maniacally, is a reliable way to start any episode. Corporate event or brisk Joe must be either extremely tired of being associated with this weirdo or strangely proud because it's happening with a consistency that must make him think that Forbes is doing 2 sets nightly at the Blue Whale. All's well, however, because it knocks a big chunk of the Jeff Clark identity crisis out of consideration. Quickly, we move to Nicholas sleazing around Vicky and drinking it up with Roger, finally confronting him with the company of a fellow fop. You kind of wish Burke Devlin would show up and try to intimidate Roger now that his buddy Nicholas is there. They'd just laugh at his taste in shoes until Burke sculled away to pen an angry letter to Brewster's department store in furious shame. Roger, on cue, spills the beans about Vicky's conviction that she traveled to 1795 and was harassed by a witch hunter named Trask. Tipping Nicholas off to the location of the sacrificial tree, it's easy to be a villain on Dark Shadows. It's not a job so much as a vacation. Nicholas just sits around the drawing room and drinks and leers at babes until people deliver exactly the exposition he needs on cue. What's left? Hypnotize Vicky, go to the tree, and call back Angelique. All in a day's work. Let's praise Humpert Allen Alstrado for carrying the show so effortlessly that it feels like we're watching a talented actor unself-consciously improvise rather than some guy reciting lines and working through blocking. It's to the show's credit that they didn't simply hand over the storyline to him. In perpetuity, how do you not screw up a scene? Include Nicholas Blair, it would be enough to make the rest of the ensemble paranoid. And I guess they share the wealth with us. This episode hit the airwaves July 1st, 1968. Once I hit my stride with the column patterns began to form in my own writing. There are several types of Daybook columns. One of them is excessively wacky and stream of consequences. Sometimes I would feel a little guilty for this, a tad too self-indulgent, but when I look at those, they are often a pretty good reflection of what the show was given me. This particular essay really outlines the sheer number of inanities foisted upon Barnabas. It's ludicrous, and we are all the better for it. Episode 530. Can Barnabas stop his ex-wife from returning from hell before a reanimated monster kills a middle manager who reeks of tuna? Sam Evans, David Ford. As Adam and Joe tussle in the woods, Vicky tells Barnabas that Cassandra is back and determined she learned the dream curse. Cassandra raises the ghost of Sam Evans to tell her, and after Barnabas squabbles with the witch, he returns home to find what may be a dead Joe Haskell tumbling out of his closet. Adam looks on in delight. At a certain point, where is Barnabas supposed to go? At first, it seems like the old house is the logical choice. Unless he goes out either place, he has woman vaguely, if confusedly, throwing himself at him as if he were the Tom Jones of the occult. That's the good news, kind of, especially because neither of them is Julia. Vicky shows up just as you've donned your smoking jacket, and she drops a dime on Cassandra. Bad news, that the X is back from hell, but at least you're getting the intel early. But the dream curse is back too. Oh, and the Angelique's ghost is simultaneously around as well. Being as Cassandra, which is really confusing, and now she's delivering cheap perfume from the props department. I'm not sure what the bigger threat is, the dream curse or having Vicky wandering around and smelling like a dead flight attendant from a Jennings library. Oh shit. It's a mixed bag at home. So you go into the woods only to find Cassandra probably reeking of the same perfume, pretending not to be Angelique, which is ludicrous. And the only thing to do is to declare that you'd better avoid each other, as if you were Jan and or Marcia in a tiff over who'll be running for student government. That is, if Jan and Marcia had weird crushes on each other, which they didn't. So don't go there because Alice is leaning over to the sound of meatloaf sizzling in the oven and is sure to drag Julia into it. That is all anyone needs right now. And outside, over the smell of the perfume, you could swear you could detect Joe Haskell's high karate mixed with, with the KFC drenched aroma of Adam. And there's the stench of their combat. But between the two men, or the two fragrances, maybe both, coming home from this olfactory nightmare, Joe falls out of the closet in the old house drawing room and stops snickering while Adam leers and laughs maniacally from the window like some perverse Alan Font, which means like Alan Font. As if that's not enough, you get the feeling that Sam Evans' ghost is mixed up in this. He is delivering from a multi-level marketing scheme, too, since that's the essence of the dream curse, probably, which may be why Angelique was why Angelique was delivering perfume along with it. It's kind of as if the Dark Shadows writers were playing an improv game, sort of topping each other while never quite explaining anyone's idea, but just adding one more on more and more. Even a straight-faced description of the non-stop nuttiness sounds like a 10-year-old's breathless description of the action to a belabored dad just coming home from a long day at happy hour. In other words, TV magic. When I think of Dark Shadows, I think of episodes like this one, because it both has everything and it is at the crossroads of what the show will be. It's not Dark Shadows, but it's far from bad, and has a madcap sampling of everything in this era. Crazy Joe unable to deal with the madness of what a story has become without picking up a gun. Adam, Cassandra, raising the dead, the dream curse, Barnabas probably wondering if a vampire were all that bad compared to what humans deal with in this day and age. It's David Ford's last episode, and that's yet another reminder of where the show has come since the early days of red meat drama. You know what he signed up for. Think Dan Curtis is going to apologize for the evolution in tone? No, he doubles down on Ford by making it the wackiest episode possible without having Sam jump out of a cake with a coconut bra which was probably next. Even the details of Sam's life as a ghost are bizarre. Why does a ghost need to be wearing a trench coat? Is it raining in the afterlife? Did Maggie bury him in a raincoat because she couldn't sell it off? Cause concern. Sorry. Did it not fit Joe? And why is Sam still blind and wearing sunglasses? Yep. Doesn't that get reset if you're a ghost? You're lucky they didn't edit in Hayden Christensen to play a young version of you. In reality, whatever that is, Ford was allegedly to put out with it all to learn lines, and so the glasses allowed him to read off of the teleprompter without anyone noticing. David, baby, no one noticed because everyone was reading off the teleprompter. Capiche? And I wouldn't have it any other way. In the next episode, Barnabas just decides to let Willie take the fall. Why? Probably and ultimately because Barnabas would still be withering in his coffin, enrobed in agonized peace, if he hadn't been so rudely interrupted the year before. He'd go back there, I'm certain, but have you ever tried to chain your own coffin from the inside? Of course not. No one has. It's a ridiculous question. But is it any more ridiculous than episode 530? We all know the answer, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Farewell, David. You think things are strange now? This episode hit the airwaves July 8th, 1968. I'm going to read this next insert, and then I'm going to stop for right now, guys. I know that soap operas need to have a dizzying number of plots going on at the same time. But in this case, it's all the same plot. We need to remind ourselves that this was no accident. None were more aware of this than the people who made the show. All right, guys, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to pick up at episode 556. I hope you guys enjoyed this read along. I'm going to do more tonight. Later on, I got some other things I want to do, and I got some writing of my own to do, actually. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Link to where you can get the Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound is going to be in the description box. Before I go, I want to add on to Adam. And I want to make this clear. I'm not speaking on behalf of my buddy Patrick McRae here. The reason Robert Rodin's performance is so criminally underrated because he's a character who's literally born out of other dead people. And yes, you could say he's Frankenstein's monster in a sense, but I think it's much more than that. Frankenstein's monster, to me, never had the purpose that Adam had. Remember, why is Adam coming to life? It's not just so Barnabas can be free of the curse. Yeah, that's one element. It's in every way, it is Dr. Eric Lane's last laugh to get the last laugh over Angelique. Here's a man who didn't believe in witches at first, but he learned by the end, yes, witches are very real. And Adam is sort of his swan song in every way. Toward Angelique, toward Nicholas, toward whoever, toward Diablos, if you will. And Adam is his swan song, and his swan song lives to let Barnabas be free of said curse. And Robert Rodin, the writers deserve a lot of credit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything from them, but Robert Rodin played the role, and he did it beautifully. And that's what I want to add before I go. So, link to where you can get the Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound is in the description box. Definitely hope you guys go check this out. Go buy it. It is well worth it. I'm enjoying this very, very much. Sorry I didn't have a lot of time today, but I am going to have a lot of time tonight. So, I'll probably do I'm going to do 2 readings tonight. So, I'll see you guys later tonight. Bye bye.